A world record for drumming speed was once set by him. He was a lecturer at Berklee once. He is the only drummer that was able to perform Dream Theater's intricate songs flawlessly from his first audition and maintain that level for more than 10 years. There is more to Mike Mangini than just drumming. He is a human intellect-programmed rhythm machine. However, there is a little-known reality hidden beneath the stage lights and technical praise. As a child, Mangini used to hide under a tree because he was so afraid of performing. At one point, he wrote software for missile systems but abandoned it to go after 2 drumsticks. He was once praised as the drummer who could not be replaced, yet he was abruptly and silently replaced. Mike Mangini opted for quiet amid a noisy rock environment. Even when badly upset, there should be no drama, scandals, or public outcry. And it was because of his depth of knowledge and the integrity of a true artist that made him one of the most respected people in the drumming world, not because of his fame. He is 60 years old, making a fresh start with a solo record, leaving the Dream Theater frenzy, and continuing to play drums. Not for fame, but because he never gave up. What would prevent someone who has attained technical glory from pursuing fame? And why is Mike Mangini so unique that he became a symbol even while he remained silent? Childhood. Born in Newton, Massachusetts, on April 18, 1963, Mike Mangini grew up in the suburban hamlet of Waltham, where his family's basement was the source of his first drum beats. Mangini began tapping drumsticks on pillows at the age of 2.5. Later, he moved on to kitchen pans and finally, anything that might produce sound. He was not taught, he merely imitated Ringo Starr on television, and for some reason each rhythm he played was accurate. Neither of his parents was an artist. Mangini was distinct from the family, which prized stability, discipline, and academics. The little boy hardly said anything. Instead, he spent hours lost in a strange and fixated world of rhythm. For him, the only way to communicate with the outside world was through what others referred to as noise. However, stage fright was another enduring concern from his early years. Mangini once escaped from the house, climbed a tree, and refused to descend after being requested to play the drums for his parents' friends. He refused to participate. He was afraid of being seen, not because he was incompetent. Every public appearance became a real emotional struggle for him for years following as a result of this social anxiety. Mangini was a math and scientific whiz. Mangini followed his father's advice to study computer science in order to have a steady future because he was a practical man. After enrolling and graduating with honors from Bentley University, he was employed to develop software for the Patriot missile defense system. For someone who hadn't dreamed about drums since he was 2 years old, a dream was beginning. However, his intellect continued to pound behind the scenes of control systems and code. Though not loud or intense, the rhythms were still present. Mike Mangini's early years were characterized by a silent conflict between the demands of society and the allure of music, between the beating heart of rhythm and the logic of software. Ultimately, he decided to choose the more honest, challenging, calmer, and less predictable route. Early career. It wasn't a snap choice for Mike Mangini to quit his work as a software engineer and go back to drumming. It was the action of someone who had made an effort to lead a typical life, and was certain that he was unable to do so. He no longer saw music as a pipe dream. Unquestionably, it was a calling. At a time when most people were settling into office jobs, pensions, and insurance plans, he therefore had to start over from scratch. Playing in bands that required a high level of technical skill was Mangini's most direct and demanding route into the professional music industry. He became a member of Annihilator, one of the most well-known thrash metal bands in Canada in the 1990s, and left his imprint by drumming faster than most people can. Then came Extreme, when he took Paul Geary's place and instantly astounded audiences with an almost robotic level of precision and energy. But playing faster than anyone else wasn't Mangini's real differentiator. It was about knowing what he was doing better than anyone else. He approached rhythm as a system of logical thought, in contrast to many drummers who depended on instinct. He studied, questioned, and developed theories about drums in addition to playing them. This resulted in the development of rhythm knowledge, a thorough educational approach that blends psychology, music theory, and neuroscience to assist drummers in comprehending rhythm at its foundation rather than merely learning patterns. He was hired as a teacher at Berklee College of Music, one of the most prominent music schools in the world, because of that same concept. After overcoming his stage phobia as a child, Mike Mangini became a mentor to hundreds of students, motivating them not just with his extraordinary technique, but also with his own self-overcoming. He was well known in the professional drumming community by the late 2000s. Not ostentatious or noisy, yet consistently found in the most significant locations including studios, classrooms, instructional manuals and stages with Steve Vai and James Labrie. Fame wasn't the start of Mike Mangini's career. Like the man himself, it started with drum beats that were quiet, exact, and unrelenting. Professional achievement. Three men, John Petrucci, John Mayung, and Jordan Rudess, were waiting in a room when Mike Mangini entered it in 2010. A huge drum kit, numerous microphones, and a task that most drummers worldwide would only dare to view on screen, tryouts to replace Mike Portnoy, were all in front of him. The original drummer for Dream Theater, one of the world's most technically sophisticated bands. The reason Mangini was the ideal fit was because no one anticipated it. Mangini sat behind the drum kit, in the audition video that was recorded without warming up or looking at the sheet music. It seemed as though Dream Theater's songs were composed specifically for him because of how accurately he performed them. Petrucci and Mayung's faces slowly changed from doubtful to astonished. In addition to performing the roles accurately, Mangini did so in a way that even Portnoy would nod in agreement. It was a pivotal event. The new lifeblood of Dream Theater was the same man who had ran away from performing when he was 6 years old. 2011's a dramatic turn of events. His debut album with the group wasn't an easy start. The band was under a lot of criticism at the time. Can Dream Theater still be Dream Theater without Portnoy? Not only did the album earn positive reviews for its songs, but it was also praised for Mangini's drumming, which added a fresh energy that was clean, nimble, less experimental than Portnoy's, but just as passionate in a different way. A string of landmark albums followed, including Dream Theater 2013, which signaled stability with the new lineup, and the incredible 2016, an ambitious rock opera in which Mangini skillfully handled dozens of tempo changes and intricate time signatures on every track. 2019's Distance Over Time is a return to roots music with a focus on prog metal structure, intricacy and a global perspective. In 2021, after almost 40 years in the business, Dream Theater won their first Grammy Award thanks to his work on The Alien. Mangini was not the showy kind on stage. He seldom ever got to his feet and had any dramatic flair. However, observe how his hands move, striking time and air simultaneously like lightning, and you'll see why he was dubbed the percussion wizard by Dream Theater fans. Mangini's play was more than just accurate. In order to overcome his fear and physical limitations, he experimented with awareness and science, building internal systems in his own head. He continued to teach off-stage. He combined rhythm with logic, neuroscience, and even meditation in his rhythm knowledge classes, which became vital resources for the world's drumming community. In addition to learning how to play like Mangini, many young drummers also learned how to think like him. Mike Mangini once claimed several world records for speed, including 1,203 single-stroke hand hits in 60 seconds, if we only consider his honors. Comparable grip. From 2002 to 2000 to 2006, there were multiple fastest drummer titles and 13,222 foot strokes in 15 minutes. His attitude toward those same records, however, was what made him unique. "Speed doesn't make you an artist," he said simply in one interview. "Unless you know how to use that speed to convey a story, it merely turns you into a machine." Mike Mangini wasn't there to take anyone's position at Dream Theater. He came to demonstrate that being successful doesn't have to be loud. You can be late, move more slowly and say less, and still make an impression that will last a lifetime. And that's precisely what Mangini accomplished, not by celebrity, but with a chilling accuracy. Personal life. Mike Mangini is a man of simplicity, calm and intense secrecy in his personal life, even if he is a rhythm machine on stage that is accurate to the thousandth of a second. No social media commotion, no parties, and no scandals. In a field where performers are frequently asked to act off stage, Mangini decides to avoid the limelight when it is no longer warranted. In his infrequent interviews, he has revealed that his family has always been his strongest support system throughout times of change, particularly when he left Berklee to devote himself entirely to Dream Theater, or when he had to deal with the tremendous strain of taking Mike Portnoy's place. He was once married and has kids. Those close to him are aware that he has never revealed anything about his wife or kids. He always called home after the hour-long concert to let everyone know that Dad was doing well, not to brag about how well he had performed. A lesser-known but incredibly important part of Mangini's personal life is his protracted struggle with stage fright and social anxiety, which plagued him from infancy into adulthood. He once explained that in order to stand in front of thousands of people without collapsing, he had to learn to manage his brain in the same manner that he controlled his drumsticks. This included charting his respiration, mentally reprogramming his emotional reflexes, and separating thoughts into parts. These deep psychological encounters influenced rhythm knowledge as a philosophy of life as much as a drumming system. I made this system not just to play drums, but to teach myself how to look at chaos and find rhythm in it, he once remarked. Aside from music and family, Mangini adores silence and the natural world. In order to create new rhythmic patterns, he frequently finds inspiration in repeating natural movements, such as the rotation of a fan, the waves of the ocean, or rainfall. He also enjoys taking solo walks and studying trees. This is also the reason he still lives in a peaceful suburban region rather than a vibrant music city, even though he has performed on some of the biggest stages in the world. Few people are aware that after leaving Dream Theater, Mangini declined a number of alluring opportunities to collaborate. He had a straightforward explanation: "I need time to get back to who I am." Mike Mangini is a unique example of someone who prioritizes inner peace and mental health over celebrity. In a society where artists are enmeshed in an unrelenting cycle of markets and expectations, he never made an effort to project an air of mystery. He just didn't have much to say. All things considered, Mike Mangini's personal life is similar to his drumming style: steady, complex, and composed, and never more than legacy, influence, and what is actually required. Even when an artist reaches the pinnacle of their career, not all of them leave a legacy. Mike Mangini, however, is unique. He merely needed to be the most accurate, the most committed, and the most difficult to replace, not the most well-known. Mangini demonstrated the opposite in a field of music, where technicality is frequently written off as soulless or frigid. When combined with in-depth comprehension, that method can delve to deeply human emotional levels. Although he held numerous world records, such as the quickest handstrokes in a minute and the most continuous pedal hits in 15 minutes, Mangini's biggest contribution isn't his record collection. It's also not just the traditional Dream Theater or Extreme albums. His genuine legacy is found in the unique way that drumming combines intelligence and melody. Mangini created an educational approach called rhythm knowledge, which is more than just a way to study drumming. It's a thorough framework that combines music, mathematics, psychology, and neuroscience. He helps thousands of students worldwide comprehend rhythms that were previously only felt but never fully articulated by breaking down difficult ideas like polyrhythms, syncopation, and strange time signatures into easily understood graphic modules. As a result, Mike Mangini is more than just a drummer. He is a person who can translate rhythm into words. Several young drummers, including Anup Sastry, Matt Garstka, Animals as Leaders, Bard Kolstad, and Leprous, have admitted to being greatly impacted by Mangini's philosophy as well as his performance. Mangini's presence defined a unique age characterized by discipline, stability, and scientific accuracy. Even within Dream Theater, a band where every member is regarded as a maestro, Mangini provided balance, structure, and accuracy, whereas Mike Portnoy tended toward instinct and emotion. Even if not everyone saw it right away, that contrast opened a whole new chapter for the band. In addition to his technical impact, Mangini's personal ideology made a significant impression. He has stressed humility, tenacity, and thankfulness in a number of interviews, especially in the face of adversity. Even though he acknowledged that he was not notified beforehand, there was no resentment or public censure when he departed Dream Theater in 2023. Many admirers referred to him as a man of honor because of his serene dignity and the fact that he never allowed his love of music to overshadow his respect for it. Even if he isn't as well known now, Mike Mangini is still a symbol for never hitting an unneeded note, not for noise. He decided to play less in a world full with meaningless drum beats. However, each hit had purpose, weight, and a lasting effect. The legacy of Mike Mangini is not found on stage. It is demonstrated by the thousands of students who have risen above their nervousness, picked up a pair of sticks, and come to understand that, if you know how to listen to the rhythm, music can heal current circumstances. Nobody knew exactly where Mike Mangini would go, what he would do, or even if he would continue drumming once he departed Dream Theater at the end of 2023. The man played a pivotal part during the period when they won their first Grammy, dedicating more than 10 years to one of the world's most sophisticated ensembles, only to be abruptly removed. However, Mangini decided to remain silent, rather than respond with resentment or hostility. Then, unprepared, self-reliant, and more determined than ever, he entered a new chapter. Invisible Signs, Mike Mangini's first solo album, was formally released on November 11, 2023. He was the producer, songwriter and conceptual architect, in addition to being the drummer, and he was no longer behind James Labrie or John Petrucci. The album wasn't a technical demonstration. It was a statement from an artist who had grown up, liberated himself, and was no longer constrained by the identity of his previous band. With renowned collaborators, including Gus G., Ozzy Osbourne, Firewind, Tony Dickinson, Ivan Keller, and Jen Majura, formerly of Evanescence, the tracks on Invisible Signs explore emotional depth and introspective viewpoint. It was a daring declaration. Dream Theater was not necessary for Mangini to achieve excellence, yet he continued to do so. Mangini announced the creation of a new band called Monolith at the beginning of 2025. Monolith is a progressive metal project with a contemporary edge and a unique personality. Mangini was the creative force behind the entire song, in addition to playing drums on the debut single Oligarchs. With Andy Barrow on guitar and Hernan Motley Rodriguez on lead vocals, Monolith produced a strong modern sound that was nonetheless anchored in the intricacy of prog, akin to a map that Mangini had long since sketched but was never permitted to realize. He continued to pursue teaching, his second big passion, in addition to composing. Hundreds of students attended each of Mangini's master classes, which were hosted in places including Atlanta, Milan, Rome, and Dubai. In addition to teaching drumming, he also taught how to psychologically program your mind to play strange time signatures, how to breathe through panic episodes, and how to train more effectively, which doubles efficacy while halves practice time. He saw every lesson as an opportunity to guide others along a route he had already taken slowly and by himself. Mangini gave a calm and clear response when questioned about why he left Dream Theater. "I respect and understand that choice. This is the ideal moment for me to finish the tasks I have on my plate. No regret, no rage." A 62-year-old guy emerges from a long shadow with the knowledge and will to continue creating, teaching, playing, and being authentic. Mike Mangini is demonstrating that drummers don't need bands to be relevant in a world where many do, no longer has to support anyone. As he once said, "I won't stop if there's still a sound inside me that hasn't been released." He is himself. People are starting to realize that perhaps Mike Mangini never really left. He's just getting started as those noises start to reverberate under his own name. Mike Mangini never engaged in a battle for attention. Sensational headlines, public controversies, or ostentatious stage antics were never necessary for him to establish his value. He took a different route throughout his career, remaining calm, orderly, steadfast, and intellectually independent. A drummer with the humility of a teacher at the front of a classroom who could set world records, teach at Berklee, and stand with the greatest musical geniuses in Dream Theater. He is one of the few artists who is able to combine intelligence and technique with ease. A man who inspires with technique, utilizes music to heal personal traumas, and employs drum rhythms to discuss the brain. Mangini made the decision to delve deeper in a world where everyone is vying for attention. He has never been overtaken by time as a result. The story of Mike Mangini is a living example of how success doesn't have to be conspicuous. At 1,200 strokes per minute, you can play. The most crucial query, though, is why are you playing? Every hit has significance for Mangini. It's a statement from someone who rewrote his own blueprint by overcoming fear, surpassing expectations, and moving past past glories. And now that he is over 60 and has no affiliations with any organizations or bands, Mike Mangini is at last completely himself, an unbounded artist with nothing more to prove. Have you ever heard a drum fill so strong that it altered your perspective? That's still occurring with Mike Mangini, not just a possibility. If you've ever been amazed by one of his fills, gained knowledge from rhythm understanding, or just sensed the distinct influence he has on contemporary music, please leave a comment. There are a lot more stories like Mike Mangini's waiting to be shared, so please remember to like, subscribe, and press the bell if you enjoy silent yet impactful journeys like this one.